Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you've been feeling like modern life is just this constant, exhausting stream of stress and irritation, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're unpacking what we call the age of outrage, and we're going to fundamentally reframe something that affects literally every single one of us every day: anger. So let's jump right in, because what we're about to explore is going to completely change how you view your own reactions and the reactions of everyone around you.
So think about this for a second. Is your temper hijacking your life, or is the internet actually making us all angrier? It really feels like everyone is constantly on edge lately, right? We're just bombarded by things that feel incredibly frustrating. But before we can even try to fix how we process all that frustration, we kind of need to look at the psychology and the data to see what is actually happening to our brains.
And honestly, here's the punchline. 42,597, that is how many U.S. adults were surveyed in a massive, recent study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. When researchers at Northeastern University dug into the numbers, they found a direct, undeniable correlation between high social media use and increased irritability. Basically, just being on these platforms more frequently is literally making us prone to anger. So no, you aren't imagining things. You're probably waking up on the wrong side of the bed more often simply because of your screen time.
And a Yale study using machine learning shows us exactly why this is happening. They analyzed over 12 million tweets, 12 million, and found that the very design of social media algorithms actually rewards moral outrage. You see, algorithms are built to optimize for user engagement, and honestly, nothing gets clicks quite like justifiable anger. It's a tactic called rage baiting. Every single time you see something that makes your blood boil and you engage with it, the platform learns to just feed you more of it. We are quite literally being trained, day by day, to be angrier. It's just one massive outrage loop.
Okay, let's take a breath and slow down for a second. Because right here is where we need to completely shift our perspective. Yes, the world is feeding us outrage, and yes, we feel constantly provoked. But despite all of that, anger itself is deeply, deeply misunderstood. What you're actually feeling when you lash out, it isn't what you think it is.
The absolute most crucial thing to understand here is that anger is almost never a primary emotion. It's what psychologists call a secondary emotion. What does that actually mean? Well, it means it's an emotional reaction acting as a protective shield. It masks deeper, way more vulnerable primary feelings. According to the Child Development Institute, feeling things like sadness, embarrassment, fear, or a sense of helplessness, those are incredibly uncomfortable to express directly. So, to protect ourselves from feeling so vulnerable, our brains just throw up a shield, and that shield looks and sounds a whole lot like anger. The late psychologist Dr. Marshall Rosenberg had this brilliantly simple metaphor for it. He said, think of anger as similar to the warning light on the dashboard of a car. It's giving you useful information about what the engine needs. Think about it. When a warning light flashes in your car, you don't start smashing the dashboard, right? And you definitely don't just ignore it. You pull over, you slow the car down, and you figure out what unmet need the engine actually has. Your anger? It's basically your body's check engine light. Now, how that warning light flashes is heavily influenced by how we're socialized. East Point Behavioral Health highlights a really stark contrast here. A complex mix of biology and societal expectations condition men and women to express this secondary emotion in completely different ways. What is often categorized as male anger is socialized to be loud, physical, or dominating, which effectively shields deeper feelings of shame or fear. Female anger, on the flip side, is frequently internalized because women are often socially conditioned to keep the peace, so it ends up showing up as passive aggression, intense guilt, or chronic overthinking. But here's the thing. Whether it manifests as outward explosive aggression or internalized silent guilt, unchecked anger takes a massive toll on us. We're talking about a vicious cycle of frequent arguments followed by deep regret, leaning on substance abuse as a coping mechanism, dealing with chronic anxiety and burnout, and ultimately creating severe emotional distance in our closest relationships. When we refuse to look under the hood, the engine eventually breaks down. Which brings us to a really fascinating rhetorical hook, one that's totally foundational to a concept known as nonviolent communication, or NVC. Ask yourself this: are they making you angry, or are your thoughts making you angry? I mean, we are so completely ingrained with the idea that other people cause our anger. We say things like, "You make me so mad" all the time, but the psychology of NVC challenges this entirely.
Dr. Rosenberg pointed out that the stimulus, the actual thing that happens, is never the true cause of our anger. The cause is always the internalized judgment we make about it. Let's say your partner's late. That's just a trigger. The cause of your anger is the thought spinning in your head, "They don't respect my time." Rosenberg actually used a wild example from his own life to explain this. He once got hit in the nose by a child while breaking up a fight. The first time it happened, he was absolutely furious because he thought, this kid is a spoiled brat. But the very next day, he got hit again by a completely different kid and he wasn't angry at all. Why? Because he viewed that second child as someone in deep need of help. The physical trigger was exactly the same, but the internalized story, that is what generated the anger.
So how do we actually fix this? Well, it starts by shifting toward what's called constructive anger. There's this really fascinating recorded dialogue between emotion researcher Dr. Paul Ekman and the Dalai Lama where they talk about how you can use anger constructively. The secret is incredibly simple, but so powerful. Direct your frustration entirely at removing the obstacle, the objectionable act, without morally condemning the actor. Basically, you maintain compassion for the person, but hold total disapproval for the action. And here is exactly how you put that into practice. These are the 4 highly structured, actionable steps of nonviolent communication. First up, observations. Just state the facts without any judgment whatsoever. Second, feelings. Take responsibility for your emotion. Say, I feel hurt, rather than you hurt me. Third, needs. Identify your unmet internal need. Maybe it's a need for respect or safety. And finally, requests. Make a specific, positive, doable ask of the other person. This isn't just theory. It's a strongly source-backed framework for resolving conflicts with actual compassion.
Now, for younger folks, or honestly whenever you just need something super quick in the heat of the moment, the Child Development Institute offers this incredibly effective tool called the SNAP method. It stands for Stop, Now, and Plan. Stop and physically pause before reacting. Now take a deep breath and reflect on what your primary emotion actually is. Is it fear? Maybe embarrassment? And plan, problem solve that root emotion, instead of just letting that secondary shield of anger totally take over.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. We live in an age of outrage, and let's be real, the social media algorithms aren't going to change anytime soon. But your response to them, and your response to the people in your actual life, that absolutely can change. The next time your internal dashboard warning light starts flashing red with anger, will you try to smash it, or will you actually look under the hood to see what you really need? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and stay focused.